Jafora Fox, let's talk business, and let's turn it up a notch. It's your time to shine with Jafora Fox. It's all coming together, just keep your eyes on God and tune in, and let's talk with Jafora Fox. Hey, Jafora Fox. Jafora Fox.
Hello, and welcome to the Jafora Fox Show. I am your host, Dr. Jafora Fox, and I'm glad you're here. If you're joining from Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, this space is designed for thoughtful conversations about psychology, alignment, leadership, faith, and the internal shifts that shape how we grow. Say hello and let me know in the comments where you are joining from. Share and tag 3 people. And I am so happy that you're here. So say hello. And each episode builds intentionally on the last. We've talked about pressure. We've explored alignment. We discussed boundaries, readiness, and how alignment can change relationships. And now we move on to something many people experience during transformation, but rarely talk about openly: the loneliness that comes with personal growth. So we're going to talk about tonight the loneliness that comes with personal growth. So I want to ask you something. Have you ever started growing, changing, or becoming clear about who you are and suddenly felt alone? Not because you did something wrong, but because the version of you that people were familiar with is no longer the version you're becoming. And tonight we're talking about the loneliness of personal growth. Because sometimes growth brings clarity, but it also brings disconnect, distant. There's a distance that could come with you growing, a discomfort, and a season of emotional isolation. And so if you're joining me, say hello in the comments. And I am so glad that you are here. I am your host, Dr. Jafora Fox. And if you're watching from Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, subscribe to the Jafora Fox Show YouTube channel. I would greatly appreciate for you to go and subscribe to Jafora Fox YouTube channel. And personal growth can bring clarity, transformation, and deeper alignment. But it can also bring something many people do not expect: loneliness. Not being lonely, but loneliness. As people grow and become clear about who they are, they may find themselves in a transition between old environments and dynamics and the new spaces that have not yet fully formed. In this conversation, we're exploring the psychological experience of growth-related loneliness and what it means to navigate the space between who you were and who you are becoming. And tonight we're discussing why personal growth can feel isolating, the gap between old and new environments, how growth changes social dynamics, trusting the process of transformation. Growth can be powerful, but it's not always easy. And it's not something that you may have done that's caused that isolation or that loneliness. It's because you're growing. And growth often requires internal change before external support catches up. You're doing the change internally. You began thinking differently. You began making different decisions. You began aligning more deeply with your values. And while that is powerful, it can also create emotional distance between you and environments that once felt familiar. Sometimes you are no longer fully connected to who you used to be, and that is okay. But you have not yet fully stepped into what is next. That in between space can feel lonely. Growth can feel isolating before it feels rewarding. And I wanted to ask you this. Have you ever gone through a season where your growth made you feel temporarily disconnected from the people around you? If this has happened for you, I want you to type growth in the comments. If this has happened for you, I want you to type growth because it's okay to grow. We should all be growing and evolving in our lives. And if you're just tuning in, hello, hello, and thank you so much for joining. You are so welcome here. So if you would share, and tag at least 3 people, your support is greatly appreciated. And one of the hardest parts of growth is the transition gap. You may outgrow old conversations, old spaces, old expectations, but the new relationships, new environments, and new connections may not have fully formed yet. So you find yourself in between, no longer who you were, not fully where you're going. And this is where many people began to question themselves. And so I don't want you to, if you're in that space, that I don't want you to question your space of growing, because everybody can't go with you to that next phase, that next level of where you're going to. And that is absolutely okay. And we have to be okay with growing. Hello, hello. God bless you. Thank you so much. Appreciate you tuning in. Thank you so much, Bernice, for tuning in. Yes, we're talking about growth and growing, and you should be in a space of growing. Hello, Trustee Curry. God bless you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you. You should be and want to be in a space of wanting to grow. And sometimes you may ask yourself, why do I feel so alone? Why does this feel uncomfortable? Why does growth feel heavier than I expected? But often it's not because something is wrong. It's because transformation creates space before it creates structure. Sometimes isolation is not rejection, it's a transition. And you're transitioning from who you were to who you're becoming. But have you ever felt like you outgrew an environment before you discovered your next one? And I just want you to think about that for a moment, because we all talk about growing and evolving and wanting to do better and be better. But growth changes more than mindset. It changes social dynamics. People may not always understand your boundaries. They may not understand your new priorities. They may not know how to relate to the emerging version of you. And sometimes the loneliness of growth is not about being abandoned. It's about being in transition. People are adjusting, you are adjusting, and the dynamics of the relationship are shifting in real time. That can feel and can make you feel some kind of way. But it is often part of the process. So know that this is part of the process, and you have to trust the process of growing, of evolving. And have you ever noticed that as you change, As I said, internally, the way people responded to you has also began to change because it's something that you do internally first. And if you're in a space of changing or you've changed, I want you to type change in the comments because change is good. We shouldn't be doing the same things that we were doing 10 and 20 years ago. We should be growing. We should be evolving. We should be wanting to be in a space where we are wanting to do better and be better. And that requires you to grow. And sometimes the people that you may have been around, they can't go with you to that next level, to that next space, to that next assignment that God has for you. And so you have to grow. And I think you should be excited about growing, excited about doing better and being better, excited about choosing you, excited about your priorities, that you are putting things in place so that you can be the best version of yourself, that you don't feel overwhelmed. Hello, Deacon. Hubby, thank you so much for joining. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing. And so you want to trust the process of the transformation because you are transforming. And the loneliness of growth is often temporary. And that's important to remember. As alignment deepens, new conversations begin to emerge and new relationships begin to form. New spaces begin to open. But growth often requires patience before those things become visible. And so you have to be patient in the process. You want to trust the process of you growing and evolving. And that means sometimes, as I said, you have to trust the process before you can see the outcome. You have to trust that the space you are in now is not empty. It's transsituational. You're just going through a transition. And not every lonely season means you're lost or you're lonely. And sometimes God will put us in a place where we have to be still, be quiet, so that we can hear from him, so we can hear from God about the next direction, the next assignment, the next thing that he has for us to do, because you're getting ready to be in a season of growth, in a season of expansion. What if the loneliness you've experienced during growth is not a sign that something is wrong, but a sign that something is changing? And think about that. I know changes can be difficult for some, for yourself, for others. Some people don't like change. And so I just want you to take some time to pause and just to reflect and think about some things. Where in your life have you felt the loneliness of personal growth? Where have you sensed distance between who you were and who you are becoming? If this is where you are right now, type I'm growing, because I want you to be in a space of growth, that you're growing. You should be evolving and doing something different, being okay with that next phase that God has you in and where he's taking you. And it's exciting. And what might it look like to trust that this season, it's not permanent, but it's part of your transformation. Transformation, that's the personal growth of you transforming, that's powerful. but it's not always comfortable. Sometimes it requires stepping away from what was familiar before the new chapter fully appears. And the loneliness many people feel during growth is often not the end of the story. It is the space between the old chapter and the new one. And I am so excited for you on your transformation of growth in a space where you are growing, you are evolving, that doors are opening for you, and that you will walk through those doors transformed, that you have in a space of growing and evolving. And so I'm excited about your growth. I'm excited about what God is going to do in your life. I'm excited about what God is doing in my life. And that know that the best is yet to come, and that God is going to continue to enlarge your territory. I'm a woman of faith. My faith is extremely important to me. That's the essence of who I am, and the being, how I flow, listening to God, knowing that if you're wanting to do what he's called you to do and who he's called you to, if you want to do what he's called you to do and be who he's called you to be, then you have to grow. You can't stay the same. You have to change. And so I'm excited. On the next episode of the Jafora Fox Show, we continue the conversation through the lens of leadership. And I'll be joined by Darrell Webb Sr. He's a real estate investor and the author of Who's on Fries. And we'll be discussing leadership through change, because growth doesn't just shape individuals. It shapes how we lead. So you don't want to miss Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Join me in the conversation. And I'm excited about this interview with my friend. We have been longtime friends. It's Darrell Webb Sr., his beautiful wife, Kim Webb. And so I'm excited about interviewing him, a dynamic leader. And so you don't want to miss, yes, amazing information that he will be sharing from a space of leadership and his journey. And so that's March the 31st, Tuesday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, streaming live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You do not want to miss. You don't want to miss any Tuesday. So if you're watching now or on the replay, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being here. And have a good night. Think deeper, align fully, lead differently. And I'll see you next time on the Jafora Fox Show. God bless.
Jafora Fox, let's talk business. And let's turn it up a notch. It's your time to shine with Jafora Fox. It's all coming together. Just keep your eyes on God and tune in and let's talk